Do you think that the idea of an artist so revolutionary that they change the world is like has ever been true? Like I mean, I know that like okay, so I'll contextualize this. Like cuz when I was starting in school, right, in art school, all of us were like, "Yeah, we're going to fucking stick it to the man." I remember really liking Hartfield, the Dadaist,
Yeah. John Hartfield.
John
Yeah.
Hartfield,
Yeah.
yeah, and really being impressed by him and sort of the agit prop that he did for that magazine where he had like Hitler eating
Yeah.
or people eating gold or something like that. Anyway, it was really impactful stuff and all of that. But I just go back in history and I think about all the like super revolutionary artists, and they were always tied to institutions, right? Whether it be the church or
The Bauhaus.
yeah, exactly. So is that, do you think that there have ever been any artists that were like so revolutionary that they changed the world? Because you get into a little bit of like the modernism, right? Like Jackson Pollock and stuff like that, and you start digging in, and you realize that he was collected by the CIA and the FBI,
Yeah.
and
Well, they
and,
used him to spread American democracy around the world. Yeah.
exactly. So I mean, yeah, in a sense, it's revolutionary, but it's also propaganda, right? Or propagandistic in its. So like,
Not in its intent, but in its.
Yeah, in its.
It was used
And
for that purpose. Yeah.
even Susan Sontag, who's like one of our greatest writers, was like a CIA person as well, right? So it's
I don't know if I knew that.
but do you feel like that is the case? Because like I think it's easy to say like, okay, yeah, like Giotto was revolutionary in the fact that he painted sculpturally, right? Or that the first 1 point perspective that like truly nailed it was a revolutionary piece. But that's more in the technical realm. Do you think that has there ever been a political artist that like, or an artist whose politics has had a meaningful impact in the way that maybe Jackson Pollock did, but without the help of a major intelligence agency? Is that too much?
I mean,
and I ask this just to sort of define what art means to us, because I think we have we still love it. It's not like just because of all these things being true, like it makes art any less valid or any less important.
no,
Yeah.
no. I think it's all part of understanding the complexity of art and how it functions, on an individual level, on a communal level, on a societal level. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, you could say somebody like Warhol, changed
That's one of the ones that I
the
was
way we
thinking.
look at art, right?
Yeah.
Or even Duchamp. But I mean, how many people saw that toilet, like, or the urinal? So in retrospect, it had a big effect. But yeah, it's tough. It's tough. I mean, well, it's just it's just like how, like what world are you talking about changing? Like what our society is so atomized, that like.
So it's a faulty premise, I guess. I mean, not that you're criticizing the question. I'm just meaning that way of thinking about it, right?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, what, Banksy?
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm.
So you
asking.
with Banksy, you're saying more of like just the more making art more accessible, right? Like to community people.
That's part of it. I mean, but there are a lot of like street artists who have done that. I think his straddling of the mainstream and the street world is probably more interesting or impactful.
That makes sense. Yeah. Because I think that he is probably one of the people that straddles both lines that is in the mainstream consciousness. And it's interesting how he has a backlash to that too.
Oh yeah.
Like it's almost like he's naughty for.
I mean, he shredded one of his paintings at the auction house, right?
Yeah, which was pretty funny.
Yeah, although how much they were in on it is clear. But
I'm sure they knew.
Yeah.
I mean, either way, it doesn't matter because whoever got that piece is like super excited.
Yeah.
You know, like you could not have a piece that got more publicity of his, really, I think, you know. And I also think that part of it is sort of having that like, it's like there's a level of trolling to the art world, you know, that I think is interesting that, you know, like the banana and that piece, a lot of it is sort of, wasn't there somebody that just got sued for not delivering paintings? Or do you know this story?
Oh,
you might be more plugged into this.
I don't know I don't remember the specifics, but it was
someone just didn't make work, and then they tried to collect the money.
yeah, he got paid up front, and was like, me taking the money is the piece or something. Yeah, which is another focus on the financial networks that art is now just one more avenue for.
Would you say it's closely tied to like a financial system, or like, you know, when we think in terms of the money behind it and whatnot, would you say that there are some art worlds that live in the financial sector?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, most of the art world is either wholly or partially tapped into art as commodity or art as investment. And I like, most artists are working artists.
Yeah,
like they need to get paid. So the idea that art as intertwined with capitalism or a capitalist society is not like a revelation or a bad thing, I would say.
But it's kind of shied away from in art school, right? Like I feel like
I don't know. You tell me.
Yeah, you haven't been to art school. No, my experience with art school is mostly, and it could be different for other people, but it's mostly that art school is training on how to have a practice, not how to succeed in the art world, which is an interesting thing. And I think, honestly, you can tell me what you think. I'd love to hear somebody check my thought on this, but I feel like a lot of that comes from an academic sector that is mostly aspiring for tenure, right? And I think that while having a teaching job is a real job, it also separates you a little bit from, like, the working man's struggle a little bit. Does that seem fair? You can push back. I don't mind.
Yeah, I mean, I think, there's a cycle of like teaching art students to become teachers to teach art students, right?
Yeah.
And like, that's not totally sustainable in a lot of ways.
Oh, no shit. Yeah, my parents were like, you just get an MFA and you can just be a teacher and you get 3 years off. And I'm like, now it's like a saturated market with parents that said the same thing. Yeah.
So, I mean, and teaching is great, and great teachers are, can be some of the most influential people in an artist's life. But, the fact that it is an industry and the fact that art school's unattainable for many and financially not realistic, it's the system is, I don't want to say broken, but
it's a little wonky.
It's problematic. And that, that taps into or dovetails with the whole idea of where artists live and how just the whole fact of how you support yourself in America as an artist. And in LA, it's like, there's definitely like a balancing act between a critical mass of artists and art workers and collectors and institutions that allows a healthy art ecosystem to happen. But if there's too much money, it tips, right? And so, again, you want people to buy art, you want artists to be supported, but